Hi guys, welcome back to Waxing On. It's Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. And today we're looking at a jazz album that involves a lot of people we've talked about over the last couple of years on the show. The main headliners, Miles Davis and Quincy Jones, live at Montreux. This was after Miles come back. It was kind of later in his career. And Miles was known for never going back. He was an innovator. He changed music a number of times, from cool jazz right to his fusion at the first retirement. Then when he came back, he had another different style he was playing. He was always innovating and moving forward. And this album's unique in the fact that he goes back and he looks at some of those songs that he recorded with Gil Evans. Now, you may remember we talked about Gil Evans, another great Toronto musician that did a couple of classic albums with Miles. He worked on them with Birth the Cool, but also the albums we're looking at here are today Miles Ahead medley. We've got Porgy and Bess, and some selections from Sketches of Spain. Now, Quincy Jones, conductor. We're looking at Gil Evans arrangements, and we've got a couple of different groups playing on this. We've got the Gil Evans Orchestra and the George Gruntz Concert Jazz Band. Let's take a look firstly at the Gil Evans band here. A lot of players we've talked about. Trumpet, we got Lou Soloff. Mentioned him during the Carla Bley episodes. He was playing trumpet with her. He was a trumpet player with Blood, Sweat, and Tears from well, not the beginning. Randy Brecker was playing on the first album, but in the early years, he was certainly one of the main players that stayed with him for an awful long time on trumpet there. We got Tom Malone on trombone. Again, we talked about Tom. I mean, who hasn't he played with? The Blues Brothers, Frank Zappa, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Letterman Show. I mean, that's not even starting on the list of who Tom Malone plays with. We got Al Foster on soprano sax, George Adams on tenor, Gil Goldstein on keyboards, Delmar Brown on keyboards, and Kenwood Denard on drums. Okay, let's take a look at the next group, George Gruntz Concert Band. A little different group, Marvin Stamm on trumpet. Yes, we talked about Marvin Stamm during the Chuck Mangione Mercury Years episode. He was on the first album, The Friends in Love, had a solo and was playing trumpet with Chuck at that time. We got John Dirth. We got Jack Walrath. Well, isn't that a coincidence? We talked about him last week, and I told you never know where he's going to show up. On the Miles Davis album, Jack Walrath on trumpet and flugelhorn. John Clark, Tom Werner on French horn. We got Dave Bergeron, euphonium and trombone. Well, there's another name from the past. We did an episode just on Dave Bergeron, but most of you may remember him like I do as an integral member of Blood, Sweat, and Tears again. Once Dick Halligan left, Dave Bergeron came in, took over on trombone, and he was with them, I think, until the last time I saw Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which I'm going to say was the late 70s. Bergeron was still playing with him, and just an excellent trombone player. Right now, we've got Earl McIntyre trombone, Dave Taylor on bass trombone, Howard Johnson on tuba. Yeah, I talked about him with Saturday Night Live Band in the early years, and Howard Johnson's played with a lot of great players. Sal Giorgiani on alto sax, Bob Melnick on tenor, Larry Schneider on tenor, Jerry Bergonzi on tenor, George Gruntz on piano, and the leader, Mike Richmond bass, John Riley drums, and Wallace Rooney on trumpet. We also have Grady Tate on drums sitting in on a few of these tunes. Now, Wallace Rooney is one of the featured soloists on here as well, and there was talk that he was also doubling some of what Miles was doing, because at this point, Miles, his health was kind of failing, and he was not playing the way you would normally expect. I mean, not that it's not a great album, not that they do great stuff, but they felt Rooney was kind of nice to shadow with them. Kind of tunes we did. Let's go back and look. We got Publicity from Birth the Cool. We've got the introduction to the Miles Ahead medley, and the songs were Springville, Maids of Cadiz, The Duke, My Ship, Miles Ahead, and Blues for Pablo, the Gil Evans tune. And Miles Ahead was also Gil. Introduction to the Porgy and Bess medley. So Porgy and Bess tunes here. We've got Oregon, Gone, 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 Summertime, Here Comes the Honeyman, Pan Piper, and Solia. And again, the last two, Pan Piper and Solia, another couple of Gil Evans tunes they did. This was recorded back, let's find out when we had it. It was at the Montreux Jazz Festival. I'm going to say it was in the 1980s. Interesting thing, associate producer here, Jerry Hay. Remember we talked about him during an episode last week. Jerry Hay. Hay was the Elton John one, right? He was arranger and trumpet player with a couple of tunes with the Elton John album. Jerry Hay, again, another great arranger and session player from Los Angeles. Who else do we have that's interesting here? Oh, here we go. Photography by Annie Leibovitz. Some of you may remember her, famous for the photography Rolling Stone magazine years and years ago. Got Miles trumpet. We got Kenny Garrett on alto sax, and Wallace Rooney was doing trumpet. This was recorded live, 25th anniversary of the Montreux Jazz Festival, July 8th, 1991. Was that 31 years ago? Goodness gracious, 31 years ago. Great album. Great chance to go back. I mean, those other albums were classic albums, but we're going to hear them now with a whole new vibe. Quincy Jones leading the band, the Gil Evans arrangement. We got the Gil Evans band. We've got the George Grunt's concert band. We've got some modern day players interpreting those early arrangements, and a chance to go back and hear some early Miles in a whole different point of view. Miles and Quincy, live at Montreux. Certainly available streaming, hard copies. Take a chance and give it a listen. Some of those early albums certainly were classics, and Gil Evans, you can never go wrong with Gil Evans tunes or Gil Evans arrangements. Always excellent. And while we're at it, go check out some of Gil's albums as well. I mean, the stuff he did as he got into the 70s and that, when Gil started to move more towards the rock element, just some great stuff in there. Okay, that's it for Monday. Miles and Quincy. We'll see you back on Wednesday for Classic Rock. Until then, everybody take care, stay safe. Thanks for stopping by.